Agrimaster, and not just the technical, this is where the buttons are, but why you're doing it.
G'day everybody, Sam Marwood here from Cultivate Farms, and we're focused on finding pathways to farm ownership for the very best next generation farmers. And part of that is putting the right people and organisations and tools as part of that pathway, so you can run and find and have the skills to run a profitable farming operation. And a few months ago, it might have been late 2018, I had this farm advisor tell me that about Agrimaster, and they said, and I quote, "It is the finest agricultural finance system going around," and that piqued my interest, and I thought I better reach out to these guys, and I did. I sent an email off to Agrimaster, and they responded, and they got what we're doing at Cultivate Farms, and they want to back next generation farmers. They love the idea of helping retiring farmers transition ownership, and hence our discussion today here with David Egerton-Warburton, who's a Managing Director of Agrimaster. And David, have I got your last name correct? That's quite a mouthful.
Yeah, spot on, Sam. Yeah, it's always a bit of a mouthful, but yeah, you did it well.
So you are related to Joel Egerton? Is that right?
Probably. There's actually a ton of us, Sam. Unusual long name, but they all bred well, mate. They all bred well.
It's a strong, powerful name. David, thank you very much. Now, we're going to throw a few questions at you. We want this to be super valuable to anyone just thinking about how they manage their books on a farm. So we're going to unpack what a farmer needs to do to get on top of their numbers, and also how Agrimaster can help. And we know it can, given the high accolades we've received independently about you guys. And also I want to announce our partnership as well, which I'm super pumped about, and it's going to be a massive benefit to our aspiring farmer members. So let's get into it, David. How do you help farmers, and what's your goal for them?
Look, I think at the end of the day, the successful failure of any farm operation, regardless of how clever we are with our grain or livestock, or vegetables or fruit, really comes down to money. Like, ultimately, that's the measure of a success or failure in our enterprise. So what we're really about is how we help is farm business intelligence. We cover off the compliance stuff, GST, single touch payroll, fuel tax, instalment tax, I'd call them. Table stakes, the stuff you've got to get right. But really it's about maximising financial return and minimising risk. And that's really the sweet spot what we're looking to help farmers, because that's always the game. You're trying to maximise your return and minimise the capital risk, which for most growers is increasing every year, really. And the reality is the easy gains in profit that probably my father enjoyed, and even I enjoyed at the early part of my farming career, based on production, lifting wool cut from, say, 30 kilos to 60 kilos of wool, or getting your wheat yield from 1.5 to 3 tonnes. Those easy gains have sort of disappeared now in ag. So all the next gains are going to be really made out of good data, really good financial management, harvesting those margins and stuff. So that's really our goal as well, is to be able to put in place that strong financial management system that has like a good, strong planning component, and then a really good monitoring component, which most people forget about, to really enable, the next generation of growers to do as well as their forebears, really.
That sounds great. And so what are the nuts and bolts, David? Is it a farmer, is it there every day using Agrimaster, or every minute using Agrimaster, every month? And is constant discussion also with this Agrimaster output with your accountant? What are some of the practical day-to-day things that your clients do?
Yeah, the nuts and bolts. Think of it as two things. There's an accounting system, or cash flow we call it, and a cash flow forecasting budgeting system, plus all the reports that pile out of those. Now, both those parts of the system are really informed by production. So Agrimaster's finances are supposed to essentially be the financial, both actuals and a forecast of your production system. It should mirror your production system, and that's the whole point here. Because a lot of us, including me, when I was in my 20s, you'd make all these amazing production plans of how you're going to take over the world of agriculture, but the numbers didn't add up. So the numbers always have to add up. So on a week-to-week basis, our clients would just be sitting there doing their doing their books like they do with any system. So putting in all their receipts and payments, capital receipts, capital payments, and keeping accurate set of books. Now, that's on a day-to-day basis, that's really important. One of the biggest problems is people tend to do their books by, downloading something or doing it at the end of the quarter or the end of the month. And if you're using that sort of approach to books, you tend to be behind the eight ball too much. The whole point is knowing where you're at today. And so what we've done is, so most of our clients we encourage to be in there at least every fortnight. Most fortnightly mainly is because of payroll, often the case, but it's a good habit to get into. The other one is the budgeting. So you're going to get into Agrimaster and hopefully you'll build a really good cash flow model. Now, it's not just a budget like most people can see. So most of the time people picture a budget. They've got rows and columns of, all your codes down one side and your months across it. Agrimaster is more of a model. So it has all your production variables and worksheets, so you can work out the gross margin analysis for each of your particular enterprise, and they all come together to create a 1 to 5 year cash flow model or forecast. That also estimates your movement in equity on your farm through that model. Now, what happens is that model helps you with those big strategic decisions at the beginning of the year. So when you're building the plan for the next year. And so we call that now, where, how. Where am I at? So that's all the intelligence out of your accounting system. Now, one segue to that, while you're there, in our accounting or cash book system, we record the 6 levels. All right, so when Agrimaster does its, when you keep records in Agrimaster, it's quite different from a shelf-based product that you'd normally see in an accounting practice or in a Harvey Norman or whatever, like a small business product. And those products are really built around doing tax for small business. So they're going to have all the good stuff, like they're going to have your chart of accounts or your code, and then your amount that's going to calculate GST. Because Agrimaster is a business intelligence piece of software for your farm, we record your farm, your enterprise, so wheat enterprise, grain enterprise, etc., or your, which cattle, sheep, etc., and you're going to your allocations, which is which chemical, which group of animals, etc., quantities, descriptions. Now, why that's important is when you get to do your forecast, you need to look back on and analyse your business. And we have powerful reporting. We've got Stack Report Generator that allow you to analyse your business so you can make more accurate predictions. All those predictions go into building a model, and that model is built out of production worksheets, which all link together to create these 1 to 5 year cash flow forecasts. Now, these forecasts, once you've built that model, really it's like a big effort, probably the first time you ever do it. And after that, it's really about dropping in about once a month, running a budget actual comparison report and checking for anomalies. Now, a lot of people don't want the big page of numbers. What we recommend for clients is they just run through those numbers once a month, look for big outliers, and work out, are you going to plan, or are there some outliers you need to pay attention to and adjust?
That's great. And I was about to ask around, does this feel overwhelming at the start? But it sounds like there is a bit of effort, and that's what everyone needs to do. But it's get your house in order at the start, and things become simpler. Do you have courses or how-to guides, David, to get people's head around all the things that they need to know?
Yeah, really, we definitely do. Like, I think we have a really comprehensive training and help centre which there is a video or a help note that teaches you how to do every single thing in Agrimaster, and not just the technical, this is where the buttons are, but why you're doing it. I've recorded a budgeting ebook, which is free for anyone on our website. And a whole lot of stuff. So what we're really interested in, there's a lot of people get focused on the how. Like one of the issues with accounting or money is people try to get rid of it as quick as they can. It's one of those tasks they just have to get rid of, and they forget the incredible value in those numbers. And a lot of the content that we put out beyond like how to use the program is really about, this is how you can use those numbers. This is how you use budgeting to control risk and increase profit, etc. And all that's available on our help centre and directly on our website.
Oh, brilliant. And so if I've got an oyster farm or a broadacre cropping or a deer farm, I'm trying to think of other types of farms, can it work for me, David?
Yeah, look, we have where this comes down to, so from the accounting point of view, that's in your setup, and that's pretty easy. But more importantly, in the cash flow modelling and forecasting, we have nearly 129, I think, worksheets available. And so we have everything from your normal cropping, sheep and cattle, everything from self-replacing flocks through to feedlots. We have dairy, horticulture, viticulture, poultry. We've got our clients are so varied. We have anyone from growing pineapples in far north Queensland through to someone. We've got someone who just grows out chicks to a tiny stage just to supply to growers that bulk them out for KFC. And we have egg farms, and I mean the bulk of our farms represent the bulk of Australian farmers as wheat sheep, but we certainly have the capacity to deal with any type of farmer.
That's brilliant. Now, what about you, David? How long have you been around in Agrimaster? Has this been a long-term thing for you?
It has. So you could say I'm a sixth generation farmer and a second generation software developer. So our family has been heavily involved in ag research right from my grandfather's days. So, my father, who originally wrote the first Agrimaster, had computerised farm records in conjunction with the University of Western Australia since 1967 when he started clearing his bush block down in southwest WA.
What was he using? What were they, Commodores, or what were they called back then?
Oh, it's pre-PC. We're talking, so back in 1967, the computer that he was having his books done on was the size of a whole building. It's actually bigger than our whole office is now. And it was done with punch cards. There wasn't even keyboards. So he got really interested in that and in computing. We're a bit of a nerdy family, and so he saved up and bought himself a computer. So this is pre-PC era, so before Microsoft, etc. And taught himself how to write code, and really wrote the original Agrimaster to replicate that computer at University of Western Australia. And the reason being is the same reason it is today. So in that 38 years, it hasn't changed. It was really so he could control his money, do a budget actual comparison report, and manage his cash flow and peak debt, etc., while he developed this new farm. So it wasn't any grand big. You think of software companies now like big startups to take on the world. His was so pragmatic, and it really, it's the core of our DNA. It was there to solve a real problem rather than pretend fancy ones. And so it really just delivered, and that's why it became popular with other farmers. So I came in as a 10-year-old into that system, but grew up with it. I went to university, studied a Bachelor of Business, went farming for a decade, and then really Natalie, who's my other business partner and director and life partner, we decided to really take my father's software, the training, the support, the development to a whole new level in 2000. So we took it on, developed a whole new company around it, and really the first time we integrated brand new software development, training systems, support systems, etc., and that whole model into one company. So, and really started its expansion both in Western Australia and the rest of the Australian continent. So that's how long we've been involved. So, we're still a farming family. My younger brother still runs the property, is expanding that down the south. We're sort of, it's in our DNA, both farming and in software, which is why we really get our clients, I suppose.
Yeah. It's such a great story. Just thinking about how lucky the kiddies have it nowadays with technology. Everything's right there, ready to go. It's just a matter of jumping on and getting it. I remember when I was collecting footy cards when I was a little kid, and my brother told me that I can enter all the records about them on this thing on the computer called a spreadsheet. And it just blew my mind. And, all these things are just normal now.
I remember getting our first internet connection in about 1994. And I just thought it was a 9K Rose to dial-up modem. And I just thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever come across. And our internet banking, in the same time, we first hooked up internet banking, which is most people see as bank fees. So it's downloading statements and uploading payments to, I think it was Westpac originally in 95. And before that, you used to have to hold a coder over the handpiece of your phone to do your banking. So it was, Yeah, it was pretty interesting growing up in our house.
Yeah, the modem noise. Like, no one hears that anymore.
Oh, just where I heard it. I heard it the other day. I was in a medical clinic and someone was sending a fax, and I heard the modem noise. I was like, wow, it still exists.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, I love that story, David, and obviously this just reflects your passion for agriculture. You want to provide a service that's real, practical, solves a real problem for farmers. You live it every day. I think it's just a ripper story, and that's why I'm glad we're partnering with you guys.
Yeah, and look, I think I did my third year uni assignment on Agrimaster, so there you go. So so my Bachelor of Business was major in agriculture at MURES. So a lot of so MURES and my brother was a Marcus boy, so he went to Marcus in Geelong, so that was always going to be a battle. But yeah, so even right through to university, I was using it. So
I love it. Now I want to jump back into more questions around Agrimaster itself. What's the relationship with a farmer and accountant? Is there a seamless way that I can just send this off and my accountant can see everything? Can they see everything live? Like how do you streamline all that?
yeah, so we have about 1,000 accounting firms, or accountants, consultants, and banks as part of the Agrimaster ecosystem. So they all have a copy of Agrimaster. We have this thing called a professional partner system. So if a client rings up and says, "Oh, look," becomes an Agrimaster client, and their accountant or their farm consulting firm is not a client, we'll generally contact them and say, "Do you need a copy for your client?" So the way it works is we have a thing called File Manager, which is a cloud-based system which manages all the Agrimaster and WageMaster, which is the payroll application, through the cloud. And what that means is when you're so you open up through File Manager and it says your accountant last used this file 2 days ago at this time, etc. And so what it does is allows people to work on exactly the same file in the File Manager, the cloud-based system. But because lots and lots of our clients still have really ordinary internet, it allows them to work in an offline environment. So as soon as they shut down their Agrimaster, it's restored and their clients can get, and their accountant or consultant can get hold of it. You can always see who's been using it and who's adjusted it. But it allows each of those stakeholders to work offline if they don't have a connection. A good example is a lot of our consultants go out to farm to do budget reviews and etc. like that, but they don't have a connection when they're out there. So what they'll do is they'll open File Manager and restore their client's file, go out and do it. And when they get back to their hotel room at night, it'll restore back up into the system and everyone can keep going. So, and it allows everyone to still maintain a single source of truth. So, yeah, so we've been working with accountants and consultants a very long time, and they're a very important part of the ecosystem, and they support most of our clients. Everyone has an accountant, and probably half of our clients also run farm business consultants as well on the system.
Yeah, okay, because that was going to be my next question. What's the best setup? Well, it feels like you can have tentacles to whoever you want as a farmer. It could be your farm advisor, your accountant, your bank, your family, your managers. Is there ability for people to jump in and jump out as you see fit or as you want them to?
Yeah, so you can control access. So look, at the end of the day, the client is always, and this is an important remember of all your relationships. You are in control. And with File Manager, we've given you 100% control over who gets access and who doesn't get access to your file. Do they get edit versions? Do they just get viewing ability? Do they get no ability at all? You can cut that out whenever you want. And I think the most important thing is that you as a farm manager are in control of your financial ecosystem and your knowledge, but you surround yourself in really good people that will ask you the hard questions so they can look at that data and go, "Hey, Stu, what's happening here?" or "What's happening there? Have you tried this?" or "Have you had tried that?" But not abdicating all your responsibility to them. So there's this gut reaction for people to go, "Oh, I'll get someone else just to do it," right? As soon as you do that, you start losing knowledge about your business. And people think your knowledge is always in a report. Sometimes the best knowledge is doing it. It's like when you're at university or school, actually writing it all down is where the knowledge is, not actually reading it later. And I think the true is with accounts as well. So I strongly suggest people have a really strong ecosystem, obviously a good banker if they need one, a really good accountant who actually works with them as an advisor rather than as a bookkeeper, because that's really unnecessary for 90% of people. And the other one is a really good farm management consultant who will test and ask some hard questions around their numbers and around their business, but for them to always maintain control of their books and making sure they've got 100% knowledge of that.
I'm thinking about this with an aspiring farmer hat on. So the level of experience these farmers have ranges from none to ready to go and ready to get on a farm. I think for people who lease in that category of leasing or a farm manager, using Agrimaster, absolute no-brainer, and they should be getting onto it. I'm just thinking about those people who either work for a farmer and don't have access to the numbers, or don't have the ability to go and say, yeah, we're going to use Agrimaster and this is the way it's going to be. I'm trying to think, how do we get people's foot in the door to getting used to managing numbers? Is there can people just create an account, David, and start tinkering? I'm just trying to get my head around all that. How do you encourage someone who's starting from zero to have this good practice of looking after numbers and even using Agrimaster?
Yeah, look, often people start with putting the numbers in, and which tends to be record keeping. I always suggest the other way is start with both where you want to get to in the report. So some of the best way to be aware of the numbers is to set yourself a current state or a future state, and that's often done with a budget or a model or a forecast. So you're a young farm manager. You go out and you know what you want to achieve. So you have a production plan that's based around, hopefully, on the great knowledge that you have. So you've got to monetize that production plan. So the best way to do that is to build a farm model. So you could go into Agrimaster and create a cash flow, so you don't have to do the accounting part yet and all this sort of stuff. You build a cash flow, you build your worksheets, you put all your production assumptions into those worksheets, and you go, will this work financially? And then it's just about accountability. So is it working? So one of the things about a plan, there was this great Prussian general, which most military people still use and quote, a guy called Helmut Moltke, and he said, all plans are a bunch of expediencies, meaning that as soon as you make it, or he was most famous for quoting, so no plan survives contact with the enemy, which means that we can create the most beautiful plan today, and you're super intelligent, you know what you're doing, you've created a plan, and I can tell you what, weather, markets, people, everything's going to smash at that plan and destroy it as quick as you make it, right? So it's really important that you monitor it, and that's how I believe people get in contact with numbers, is create a plan and go, am I achieving it or not? And this is where the actuals start coming in. So then you want to start recording the numbers to go against that plan. In other words, what am I hitting? What aren't I hitting? How am I hitting these benchmarks? So, and if you're getting someone else to do it in the initial part, get the reports, get to know those reports, ask the questions, especially the most important one, budget actual comparison report. So that's how people get in touch with numbers.
Well, and I think that for farmers starting out or working for someone else, maybe that's it. It's how do you get your foot in the door to have a look at those numbers and start getting your head around it. And it might be, I don't know, you've probably seen those relationships, David, but it might be awkward to go in and ask for those numbers from a farming operation, but I think that should be your goal, is somehow get your head around the numbers as quick as you can, get access to them somehow, even just to learn.
I think all change is constant, and but you've got to have a stake in the ground, or a line in the sand, whatever analogy you want to use, to pivot to and from, right? So what it comes to, let's say a young farmer's walked into this property and they don't have access to the details, because even parents hold these details close. Look, we've got clients who run their own copies of Agrimaster because their parents won't give them access. So this is not just a person coming in from the outside thing. This is a family thing as well. So what it is you've got all the parameters you need. You've got the area. You've got the arable area. You've got how many, for example, let's go really simple, wheat, sheep. What can I grow on that area? So I could have a self-replacing merino flock and a mixed grain farm, let's say, for example. You can, without having any access to those numbers, build a complete model around that business, right? And you could take that model and go, I reckon I can. This is what you would do at university, for example. You would build a model around theoretical business, except you don't have a theoretical business, you have a real business. So, for example, you could go to that same farmer and go, I want a stock rec. In other words, I want to know all of the livestock you have and the breeding program. I want to know all of the area you have in grain and your rotations. From that core bit of information, you can model infinite number of scenarios. And it's a bit like, I'm just thinking aloud, it's a bit like, what do they have in football? It's a bit like Dream Team in football. You don't actually have to own the football team. And then you can take those proposals to that farmer and go, look what I've done. And they, if they're good, will go, okay, that's really great, but this is really difficult. The capital costs you haven't occurred there. A lot like my father did this. I would take him magic proposals of how I was going to make $1 million in farming all the time. And he'd go, oh, you've missed out 200 gram worth of fertiliser there, or that rotation won't work with that, or whatever. And then I would have got to adjust my plan. Not only do I learn, but that farmer will also learn as well.
I love this, David. As you're talking, I'm getting excited for it. Young farmer. So I think there's no excuse now. If you're a farmer working on a farm and the farmer said you're not getting access to the books, or your parents have said you're not getting access to the books, you should be creating an Agrimaster account, and you should be creating a replica or your own version of the farm accounts, because we often talk about what are you doing between 5 p.m. and midnight every night to get onto your farm ownership, get onto your farm through your ownership plan. And understanding numbers and having this farm that you work on every day as your case study for you to just know inside out how the books work, I think is absolutely key. I would encourage anyone to make sure you've got your Agrimaster account set up, and whether you're using it in reality or whether this is a replica, I don't think it matters. The main point is, what are you doing to get your skills up so that when farm ownership opportunities come to you, you can say, look, I already know how to run Agrimaster. I've been doing it for years, and this replica database showing people that you know and you've had a crack is just so key. And that's why I'm excited by this, David. This is brilliant.
Imagine going into an interview here, right, and go, so I often have people coming into our business, and you know what my dream interviewee is they walk into your business and go, hey, I've been looking at your business from what I can find out, and I reckon I can improve it by doing this, and this, and this, and this, and this. I mean, it's almost the perfect interview, isn't it? So you're looking to people to join your business that can make it better. And if they come in having modelled how they could probably make it better, that's almost like a business owner's dream.
Absolutely. And then taking it to another level, it's if you're trying to convince the bank, you're trying to convince an investor, or you're trying to convince that retiring farmer, get that Agrimaster account and do a mock-up analysis of how you're going to smash it out of the park.
And that's it. People have this mystery relationship even with banks. And then bank is just an investor. So all they're trying to do is they want you to make a fortune, because if you make a fortune, you'll keep borrowing more money and buying more farms, and that's good for them as well. So what they're doing is you're taking to them exactly what you're taking to your farm owner. You're taking to them a proposed model of success. And the bank's job is to go, where are the risks in this model? Where are the anomalies? Where are the outliers? And we should be trying to think like that all the time. Banks just do it because they have a massive risk that they have to manage, but they're the right questions coming from anyone.
I'm loving this. So I'm excited about this partnership, David. Why did you guys say yes to even responding to our first email? What is it about what we're doing at Cultivate Farms that aligns with your business?
Oh, look, we're big fans we see a lot of farm businesses, and there's a lot of interesting dynamics happening in agriculture. Like we're seeing a lot of consolidation, etc. And one of the things I strongly believe, and we as a company believe, is that there's going to be, in order for agriculture to progress, you've got to get the best minds and enthusiasm together with the capital. And that's as soon as I saw that, Cultivate doing that is perfect, right? The next thing is innovative business models. I think that the next stage in agriculture is going to be based on some new innovative business ownership and management models that work parallel with your traditional large family business entities. And I think as soon as I saw what Cultivate was doing, I was going, wow, this is perfect, because I personally went to university with some brilliant people who didn't have access to farms because they purely weren't born into one, and they'd make brilliant managers. And I'm coming across with a number of different clients who are looking at the same thing, like their children have all gone to university and are doing other things and don't want to go farming, and then these other people who would kill for the opportunity. So as soon as I met you guys and came across the Cultivate, I thought, this is actually one of those models that is really going to make the future of agriculture really fly. And it might be one of many, or it might be the biggest thing since sliced bread, but I think it's the right way to go about it.
And we appreciate that support. We always love people who get what we're trying to do, and again, that's why we're so excited to be partnering with you. And so now I want to announce the partnership arrangement we've got. So for premium members, so people who pay up to be members with Cultivate Farms, we have a ripper deal here where Agrimaster are offering for a year, 12-month subscription for $349. Usually it's $1,100 a year, so that's some sort of ridiculous amount reduction. I can't even do the maths on top of my head. You probably can, David. And then I believe it's on $110 off for every year after that is the arrangement, which is massive. So if you're thinking, I should have a crack, that sort of money is not that much to get you going. You'd save 100 times that amount by getting your books in order. So I really encourage you to take up that opportunity. Even if you aren't a member with Cultivate, reach out to them and get signed up. You need to be managing your numbers, and you need to be on top of it. If you can't demonstrate to an investor or a retiring farmer that you know how to run a farm, how to keep on top of the books, they're going to have no confidence in you and not back you. So this is just so imperative. We just encourage you to check this out. David, thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed that, mate. Let's do some more unpacking all this.
No, it's my favourite topic, mate, so I'm happy to talk about it any day.
I love it. So everyone, check out Agrimaster. If you support them, because they're massive supporters of ours, so whenever you support them, you're supporting us. So please do get in touch with them, check them out for your own sake, but also for our sake as well. And David, thank you once again, mate. We'll be in touch, and we'll do more of these interviews and get some of this great content out to our farmers to manage their farms well.
All the best, mate. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
All right, mate. See ya.
Thank you for your attention and for watching this video. Click here or somewhere to watch more of our videos. If you're new here, please do subscribe. We want more of your attention. We want to get you inspired to get onto your farm. Let's get you farming.